Hey guys, so as I'm filming this, Tropical Storm Debby is sitting right over pretty much most of South Carolina. I know where my sister's at in Charleston, things are starting to flood, and I know that it's not supposed to move out of here anytime soon. However, I live in the upstate of South Carolina, and I am actually outside of the rain of the tropical storm right now. And I think that we are actually probably not going to get any rain at all. And if we do, then it will hit the surrounding area and it will not hit me, which if you've been here for a while, you know is like one of my big complaints with the rain around here is it comes in from the northwest and like somehow goes around me. And it's super annoying. But yeah, I don't think that I'm going to end up with any rain from this tropical storm, and I don't think that my sister is going to be in any danger from this tropical storm. Even in Charleston, the flooding there is so normal. As long as you know where not to go, you're probably fine. And they live, pretty far out of the way of any of the places that are going to be flooding. So aside from like maybe a power outage, there's no real risk for her, which I'm really glad about. That being said, I am getting the wind from that storm. It's not like super windy out there, but it is windy enough that I might have trouble with the sound for this video. But we are going to do our best to film in between guests and see how it goes. So before we go outside, I want to show you guys my little brassica seedlings. They've probably grown quite a lot since last week. And I've got in here, if you haven't seen them yet, this is rutabaga, cauliflower, broccoli, romanesco, and regular. I also have kale, more cauliflowers, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, and cabbage down here at the end. And I'm starting to think that I might start slowly hardening these off. I will obviously wait for the wind to die down because even though a little bit of wind is good for these guys to get their little stems used to being strong, I do not want gusting winds on my baby seedlings. They are not ready for it. So once the wind passes, I'll probably start setting them out for like a couple hours at a time and just really take my time hardening these off because in the past I have rushed it and I have seen the death that comes with that. It actually took me a long time to figure out that getting my brassicas started like in the middle of summer is actually the way to go, at least for my area, where we don't really have much of a fall. We have teeny little bit, but it mostly goes straight from summer to winter. And brassicas actually can handle the heat to a certain extent, especially when they're young, and it can be good for them to grow really fast and actually be ready to harvest around the time that I'm going to actually see these fall temperatures. Because honestly, once it starts getting cold enough, the growth slows down, and that's something that I hadn't accounted for really well for in the past. You plan out days till harvest, right? And what they don't tell you about that is that is under ideal conditions, and if it cools down, it's going to be slower. So starting your brassicas just as it's cooling down is probably going to result in, especially if you live somewhere where they will die because it gets so cold, you probably won't have time for them to get big enough to harvest before they die. And so if you start them in the warm, they actually will grow just fine. And then by the time that they're big and huge, then it will start cooling down and you will get your sweet vegetables from the cold temperatures affecting that plant. I am definitely still experimenting with the timing though, so watch what I do, try and learn from it, but just know that I don't know everything, not even close. Like I said, we're still in a drought here. We have gotten little spots of rain here and there, but not nearly enough to make up for what we should be getting. And so while this section of the garden is easy to water on my drip irrigation system, all of this stuff is going to be struggling a lot more because I would have to hand water it. And in order to hand water it, the amount that I think I would like it to have would take me like an entire day. So often this stuff kind of gets left to fend for itself. And as we go through the tour, we will kind of see the effects of that. Check out that gorgeous butterfly. I saw one of these, I think yesterday, that had a broken wing. I don't think they heal that fast, so I'm guessing this is a different one. Alright, so let's get started on the tour. We've got the scarlet runner beans on this trellis here. I have seen a couple of baby beans coming onto these. They're hard to spot because they are green. And I haven't been able to keep track of them well enough to know if they're actually getting bigger, but like we've got this one right here, that's a baby bean. And I have had 2 beans get to maturity and give me dried beans. So I have a total of 5 like actual beans, 2 pods that came to maturity, 5 total beans. And they're beautiful little beans. I would love to have more. As I've mentioned before, it's not like perfectly clear why this thing is struggling to set little fruits. But my suspicion is it has been the heat and lack of water. The tomato row is also looking like, I know from here it looks really lush, but in person you can see kind of better where the tomatoes are dying back. Right here at the front, things look especially healthy because this purple pole bean, this blue cocoa, is absolutely taking over the trellis. And I actually am finally getting more baby beans off of it because I did start watering somewhat regularly. Unfortunately, I really hate having to do that, but these plants were gonna die. So we've got quite a bit of foliage, and then hiding under this foliage we have some green tomatoes. Over in my Discord group, we've been talking about tomatoes and how most of us this time of year are seeing that like bigger tomato types are not fruiting anymore, and mostly it's the cherry tomatoes that are putting on fruit. And I'm seeing definitely a slowdown of all of my tomatoes, but I think I am still seeing the bigger tomato types putting on fruit, which is pretty exciting. Like, for example, we've got this one in here. It's got a stink bug and leaf-footed bugs on it, but it's a pretty sizable tomato here. And as somebody pointed out in the comments last week, leaf-footed bugs are a pest. And I'll try and find an example for you if we come further down the row of kind of what the damage they do looks like. Slight pause for wind, but this one right here, you can see how this is ripening pretty unevenly. And if you look really close, you can kind of see, let's get this to focus, there's little spots all over it. And those are just the spots, and it also has a hole from a caterpillar. These are the little spots where the leaf-footed bugs have kind of stuck their mouths in and sucked a little bit out of the fruit. It doesn't make it any less edible. It does just like kind of change the overall look of it. Like I would not maybe use this for fresh eating, but I would definitely put this tomato in a sauce. Like I would cut out the bad parts right here, but I mean most of this flesh is still, once it ripens, going to be perfectly okay to go in something like a sauce or even a salsa. Alright, we are back at the front looking down row 2.5 because, like, I don't know, this is all kind of merging together at this point, which is pretty normal for this time of year. We've got obviously lots of zinnias going on. Down this row is also a lot of basil, and I can see from here, but I bet you can't on camera, there's a pretty large wasp looking thing on my basil down there. And there it is. You can actually see it. I think that's kind of exciting, to be honest. So anyway, with the wasps, they can look a little scary, but the vast majority of them won't bother you. And they're very good predators in the garden. So the fact that they're here means that there are fewer pests that are bothering my plants. And I am a-okay with that. So mixed in with all of my zinnias, I've got a couple of eggplant here at the front, and I actually keep forgetting to check on it because it's so little down here. This is a lavender that I planted in the spring, and it seems to still be doing okay. It looks like it's struggling a little bit with the heat. It's probably also quite shaded out by these guys, but when these guys die back in the winter, this will get a little bit more sun. I'm not even fully sure how this is going to do over the winter, but I know that my lavender that was in my raised bed was not doing so great, and I was hoping that giving this one access to the ground and also putting it in the area where I can water if I need to would kind of help out with that. These eggplants, though, are starting to put on lots of flowers, and I'm hoping that with all the pollinators I see around, we will very soon have lots of fruit on these guys, which I'm so excited about. This is pretty late in the summer for me to be getting my first eggplant, but I am happy that I am at least still going to have some. Now, as we move forward from that, there are all of these sweet peppers. Oh, brake for wind. So, these are all the sweet peppers that I grew from seed that are definitely a little stunted, smaller than they should be, but I have been getting a lot of peppers off of them, to be honest. I harvested a lot of them green for salsa the other day, and I can see already this one's starting to ripen. That one is starting to ripen. A couple of these are spicy unexpectedly, which means that these seeds are definitely crossed, which I think I knew already because they are not all exhibiting the signs of what I thought I had planted. So it is a little bit of a roulette whether or not these are sweet peppers or hot peppers, especially because I'm really bad about labeling, and if I got a spicy one, I don't know which plant it came from. So we are playing pepper roulette out here, but at least we have a lot of them. There's the silly boy, the silly tail chasing boy. As we move past the sweet peppers, we move on into the actual known to be hot peppers. Everything past this fish pepper right here is a hot pepper, and I did that on purpose because that is the most recognizable pepper in my garden. Oh, the butterfly. It just wants to say hi. Oh, gorgeous. Anyways, so hot peppers are doing a lot better because they never got transplanted into that really bad potting soil that I got. And they are starting to show signs of this disease that they get every year. I think it comes from the soil. My best guess is that it's bacterial, but it could be fungal. And it seems to kind of spread through contact on the leaves. This year it's not as bad as it has been in previous years. Previous years, once I start seeing it, it's suddenly everywhere. It kind of started with this plant right here. And I've been treating with organic rev, which is a bunch of good bacteria for plants in the soil. And I think it's been helping a lot, keeping these immune systems of these plants up and able to fight back, for the most part, this disease. So instead of entirely decimating this area, it's only kind of making a couple of plants look a little sick. So I'm pretty happy with that outcome. I am an affiliate for Organic Rev, but it's because that they represent something that I really deeply believe in, which is not just throwing a synthetic nitrogen, potassium supplement on your plants, and instead throwing beneficial bacteria and fungi at them to help build up the soil and build healthier plants literally from the ground up. So I do have an affiliate code if you want to try them out in the description. Pepper plants always look way more interesting from down below, where you can actually see all the different peppers kind of hanging off the plants. If I turn back behind me to the back of the third row, this is the Cherokee popcorn, and we're starting to see these coming into maturity, but because it is popcorn, I can actually leave them to dry on the stalks. So this is incredibly hands-off. I've got a very big grace period here in which to harvest some dried corn. And so that'll be, I don't know, I want to say like another month at least until I'm harvesting dried corn from this area. I am getting very excited about this trellis here because it finally, after all this time, has cucumbers on it. Also, look at the beautiful blue butterfly pea flowers. I do have actual little baby cucumbers, and there's a much bigger one down here. And on the other side, we've got this one, which is similarly misshapen, although a little bit spikier. Look at that. At least I have cucumbers. I really thought I wasn't going to have any, so I am happy with that. And of course the noodle bean trellis is absolutely popping off. Look at all these. It's like a little weird jungle under here. These get big so fast. They can go from perfect to a little too tough and big in like 12 hours. It's crazy. I've been trying to keep up with harvesting them, but pretty soon it will start getting away from me. Like I said last week, as soon as I feel like I can't use them all fresh, I just start leaving them and letting them make dried beans for me, which gives me a lot more time to do something about it, and also something that stores a lot longer. The way they hang down is just too cute. Ugh, I am so happy that I get to grow this every single year. Back here in the weedy row, my new tomatoes are coming in. These are the ones that I'd planted when my tomatoes were in that same bad soil and I thought that they weren't going to recover. I had a ton of extra plants, so I started putting them in over here, and I'm starting to see a few tomatoes from that. Even though I'm not trellising these or really doing anything at all to help their growth, I am still getting a harvest from them, and I do think that's valuable. Still very little other than weeds to see in the rest of this row. A couple sweet pepper plants, a couple turmerics, a couple little basils, all growing very slowly and not really producing much for me. I've got a volunteer holy basil over here, and of course my blueberry at the very end. The wind is getting a little harder to film around, so we will kind of run through the raised bed area. Over here, this is my oldest raised bed, and it is suffering a lot from drought, as you can see. Not just a ton of green in here. This raised bed is doing the worst. However, it still has a very lovely marshmallow plant in it, which I'm excited about. It'll need a lot of amending, and you can see it's collapsing quite hard as well in places, so it's like full of holes. But we do still have some productive plants in here, like the yarrow, which is just now starting to flower, and the asparagus. This tiered raised bed has my calendula. This is a garlic chive that somehow didn't die, onion chives that are kind of dying back for the season, silver hi-ho thyme, carrots that have made seeds for me, and I actually need to harvest a few more of these heads. I've taken a lot inside, but all of these are my carrot seeds, and I'm kind of hoping for some volunteers in here as well. Our friend the yellow garden spider is back, and because of the breeze is riding the crazy trampoline web. But yeah, happy to see her back. Over here on the Greek oregano is another type of wasp I've been seeing that is somewhat new to me, with these beautiful blue wings, black and blue, just kind of gorgeously colored little things. They strike me as pretty docile too. They haven't really shown any sort of aggression towards me, and they seem to be doing a good job pollinating. Here are my sweet potatoes. They are recovering quite well from the deer eating down all their leaves, and I actually talked about in my Discord group the other day how I took some of these baby leaves and wilted them down into my stir fry for the night. If you didn't know, these leaves are edible and you can use them during the summer kind of like you would spinach. I think they're really mild flavored, and I love a chance to kind of use this as I harvest and also get some extra greens in my diet. So one of the wasps got stuck in the spider web, managed to escape, but did you see how all of them came up and were like acting very aggressive toward the spider? And I guess the threat has passed and they all kind of went back to what they were doing. Spider did not get the wasp. That was super interesting. Every week I become more certain that this blueberry bush is like forever dead. It'll be a while till I go around like cutting it out or whatever, so it has a chance to recover. This one also not looking its best, and these other ones that are smaller look healthier, but they are smaller, and they haven't produced as many berries for me, so it feels like kind of a trade-off here. This is my other garlic chive. It is just now starting to flower. So I am kind of liking that the garlic chive and the onion chive seem to have separate seasons, because the onion chive is like not super usable right now, but I've got plenty of garlic chive in its place. I'm still getting a couple blackberries here and there, enough to snack on. I'm also still seeing a raspberry here and there. I think there would be more if I was actually getting the amount of rain that I should be. And then around my citrus, you can see where I've been watering. You see the grass is green in the spots where it's gotten water and brown everywhere else. The figs and the citrus are still doing okay. They're young enough that I do feel like they need the supplemental water, but I am trying to water them deeply and rarely so that they are still encouraged to put down really deep roots and become more self-sufficient for next year. Oh my god, I swear I didn't go into this garden tour expecting this to be insect spotting time, but oh, look at that, that's a dragonfly. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, hello. Hi, cutie. Alright guys, that is it from me today. If you want to figure out how to join the Discord group that I mentioned, that is through my Patreon, which is linked below. And don't forget to also check out Organic Rev, linked below. I think their approach to fertilizing the garden by making the soil healthier is incredible. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week. But until then, happy gardening.